Marcia Virginia Trimble was born on March 28, 1965, and had lived with her close-knit family in Green Hills, a highly affluent neighborhood in Nashville, Tennessee. The area was considered safe for both adults and children and was a highly sought-after place to raise a family. Marcia was a happy child who was very popular amongst her friends. She was described as a blend of creativity, wit, and kindness. An excellent writer with a big imagination. One story she had written was entitled The Vanishing Treasure Chest. Marcia's teachers at the Julia Green Elementary School were endeared by her eagerness to learn and her ability to bring a sense of fun to the classroom. She loved to be outdoors, exploring, and would often spend hours roller skating around her neighborhood. She was particularly close to her brother Chuck, and the two could often be seen playing together. One thing that Marcia's life was centered around, and was perhaps one of her most cherished roles, was as a member of the Girl Scouts. This organization, known for its commitment to nurturing, leadership, and self-reliance in young girls, was a perfect fit for Marcia. She embraced the Girl Scouts' values of helping others, being honest and fair, and making the world a better place. The Girl Scout Cookie program strives to offer girls important experiences in entrepreneurship, leadership, business and finance from an early age, whilst also raising funds for the Girl Scout councils for activities and programs throughout the troop year. This entails the Scouts finding buyers themselves. The most popular way to do this is by going door to door, knocking on the homes of residents within their communities to inquire whether they would like to purchase some cookies. The process of selling Girl Scout cookies was something that Marcia had taken to with enthusiasm and determination. It was more than just a fundraising activity for her. It was an opportunity to meet people in her community, to learn the skills of entrepreneurship, and to contribute to a cause that she believed in. It was an innocent rite of passage for millions of girls across America. Nobody could have predicted that the tranquility of her family's life and the entire Green Hills neighborhood was about to be shattered. On February the 25th of 1975, at approximately 5 p.m, Marcia was at home with her mother, who was preparing dinner in the kitchen. Charles Trimble, Marcia's father, was in the den, and Marcia's brother Chuck and his good friend and neighbour, Marge Egerton, were playing basketball outside at the end of the driveway. Just before the family settled down to dinner, 9-year-old Marcia informed her mother Virginia that she was going to quickly deliver some of her Girl Scout cookies to the Maxwells, who lived just across the road. Putting on her coat, Marcia innocently headed out the back door onto the driveway. She was holding a cardboard box that carried her Girl Scout cookies, along with an envelope containing around $20 that she had collected. As Marcia passed her brother and his friend in the driveway, Marie Maxwell was just returning home from grocery shopping, and as she began to unload her car, she noticed Marcia outside holding her cookie box. Marie quickly headed inside her house to write a check for the cookies that she had ordered, but Marcia never came by. Back at the Trimble home, dinner was ready, and Virginia began to wonder where her daughter was. She walked outside and looked for Marcia from her front yard. She later recalled, "I called her, she did not come. I called her again, she still did not come." Naturally, the Trimbles began to worry. By 7 p.m, Marcia's father Charles rang up his old friend, police detective Sherman Nickens, and asked what he should do about his missing daughter. The detective told Charles to take a ride throughout the neighborhood. Charles and his son followed Nickens' advice, but they still couldn't find Marcia. Again, he called Nickens, who then drove out to the home. Realizing the gravity of the situation, by 9 p.m, local and state police began the investigation. The FBI soon joined due to the possibility of kidnapping. Despite thorough searches being conducted within the area, with 20 police officers, search dogs, and a helicopter, Marcia Trimble's was nowhere to be found. Marcia Trimble's sudden disappearance soon made it onto the television news. Oprah Winfrey, then a fledgling young television reporter for WTVF Channel 5, was one of the first on the scene. She knocked on the door of the Trimble home, and Charles sternly informed her that the family wouldn't be granting any interviews. Not wanting to appear impolite even under the circumstances, Virginia told Winfrey, "Please excuse us, understand our child is missing." Winfrey obliged and left. Days turned into weeks, and still no trace of the little girl had turned up. It was as though Marcia Trimble had vanished into thin air. That was until 33 days later, on Easter Sunday, when a Memphian man named Harry Moffat was looking for a boat engine cover in a garage that had belonged to his relatives off Copeland Drive. Sifting through piles of junk, Moffat saw a girl's legs underneath some clutter. Thinking it may have been a doll, but still not entirely sure, Moffat and another relative poked the body with a stick. They quickly realised that they had just found the body of the missing child, just 80 yards away from where she was last seen. Investigators believed that she had been lured into the garage and killed there. Despite having been deceased for a month, there was little decomposition due to the cool, dry environment. An autopsy report determined the cause of death was strangulation because Marcia had suffered a broken hyoid bone. She had also been sexually assaulted. From this day on, parents in Nashville no longer allowed their children to play outside after dusk. They kept their doors firmly locked, and Girl Scouts were forbidden from ever going door to door to sell cookies. Believing it likely that the murderer was a local resident, police soon turned their attention on Jeffrey Womack, a 15-year-old boy who lived near the Trimble home and one of the last people to see Marcia alive. Marcia had visited Jeffrey's home the day of her disappearance, but Jeffrey said he had sent her away because he did not have any money to buy cookies. He said that after he learned of the girl's disappearance, he went to her house to tell the police there what he knew. According to Jeffrey, the police aggressively questioned him and then made him empty his pockets. Inside the pockets, police found a half roll of pennies, a $5 bill, and a condom. This seemed to contradict Jeffrey's testimony that he lacked the money to pay Marcia. The condom suggested to police that he may have sexually abused Marcia. Jeffrey later said that he had the condom because he was having a sexual relationship with a local woman. Jeffrey's mother and a neighbour soon found out that the police were questioning him and insisted that any further interrogation must be done with a lawyer present. However, the persistence of a lawyer only made police more suspicious of him. Jeffrey's attorney, John Hollins, advised him to stop cooperating with police altogether. After that, he refused to discuss the case with either the police or the media. Unable to obtain a confession, the police resorted to other means to try and gather evidence against the teen. When Jeffrey was 17 years old and working as a busboy in a restaurant, the police sent an undercover officer into the restaurant to befriend him, but they did not get any incriminating evidence. Jeffrey had even passed 2 polygraph tests, but in 1980, authorities finally arrested him for Marcia Trimble's murder. This charge, however, was later dismissed for lack of evidence. Many police officers involved in the case continued to believe that he was guilty. DNA samples were taken from semen collected from Marcia's body, but these samples were stored improperly and deteriorated over time, limiting investigators' ability to identify or exclude suspects. Police collected DNA samples from 96 suspects, including Jeffrey Womack, but none of these samples matched the DNA found. In 2012, Jeffrey Womack published a memoir detailing his harassment from police due to him being pursued as a suspect in the case. While semen was present, there was no sign of actual penetration. Investigators believed that Marcia's attacker was either an adolescent boy or a man with very small genitalia. Marcia's killer had also stolen her Girl Scout cookie money, leading police to believe that the perpetrator was in fact a juvenile. DNA tests seemed to indicate that there was semen from as many as 4 different attackers. One investigator doubted this because the samples had been poorly preserved. Nashville homicide detective Tommy Jacobs said, "I'm not confident in the DNA sample, but that's all we've got." Thanks to advances in DNA technology, Jerome Sidney Barrett, a 60-year-old man, was indicted on murder charges in Marcia's death on June the 6th, 2008. He had formerly been convicted for other assaults against women and children, and at the time of Marcia's murder, Barrett was working in her neighbourhood. On February the 17th, 1975, a Belmont University student had been raped in Nashville. Jerome Barrett was arrested in March of that year in connection with the crime. He was convicted of it a year later. Barrett had once claimed to have killed Marcia after he had an altercation with another jail inmate. It was during this altercation that the convict said Barrett claimed to have killed 4 blue-eyed. It also came to light that Barrett had attacked a woman a few days before Trimble disappeared, and was later convicted in the murder of Vanderbilt University student Sarah DePrez, who was found dead in her apartment just weeks before Marcia Trimble was taken. On July the 18th, 2009, Barrett was found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 44 years to run consecutively to the life sentence he had already been serving for Sarah DePrez's slaying. Marcia's family were left heartbroken, and the once religious family felt much anger towards God after their daughter was murdered. The Trimbles decided not to view Marcia's body because Charles wanted their last memory to be of her running in and out of the house, the real Marcia. Today, Virginia has since resolved her anger with God. "I finally realised that he was the only peace that I ever had," she said. Charles, who sadly passed away in 1989 from cancer, and his daughter Marcia are buried side by side.